The scene unfolded quietly at first. Inside the training facility in Indianapolis, the sound of basketballs striking the hardwood echoed in steady rhythm. Caitlin Clark, the Indiana Fever's most talked about rookie and a face already synonymous with the league's future, was moving through a practice session that had drawn more eyes than usual. She had been absent from competition for weeks, nursing an injury that had frustrated both her and the thousands who follow her every move. Yet here she was working, sweating, pushing herself back toward the game. Then something changed. The pace slowed. Her movements, sharp and precise moments before, began to lose their edge. She paused, glanced toward the sideline, and exchanged a few brief words with staff members. In less than a minute, she stepped away from the court entirely. Those watching didn't know what to make of it. In an age where speculation moves faster than fact, whispers quickly filled the air. By the time someone mentioned seeing her near a local medical facility later that day, the narrative was already being built online. Caitlin Clark had stopped practice and gone to the hospital. Such a claim carries weight. It fuels the fears of fans, sparks curiosity in casual observers, and gives critics an opening to question her durability. But it also demands careful examination. Was there a sudden setback? Had her recovery taken a turn for the worse? Or was the entire scene so quickly amplified through digital chatter, something entirely different from what it appeared to be? The truth, as it often does in sports reporting, required slowing the story down, peeling away layers of assumption to reveal what could actually be confirmed. Reliable sources close to the team offered no indication of an emergency. There was no official statement announcing a crisis, no confirmation that she had been treated for a new injury. The Fever's public stance remained consistent. Clark was progressing through her rehabilitation program, and her return to competition would come only when she was physically ready. Still, the image of her leaving the court mid-session, paired with the unverified sighting near a hospital, had enough dramatic tension to keep the rumor alive. Every piece of her journey is magnified. Every pause, every grimace, every break in routine becomes potential evidence in a larger story about her resilience. The conflict between public expectation and private recovery was suddenly on full display, and for Clark, that pressure is both familiar and exhausting. In moments like these, an athlete becomes more than a competitor. They become a canvas for projection. Supporters want to see her succeed at all costs. Opponents might seize on the chance to suggest she's not built for the demands of a professional season. The league, meanwhile, understands the commercial and cultural value she brings, making her health a matter of not just team success, but also market interest. That is why the moment in Indianapolis, as fleeting as it may have been, resonated far beyond the walls of the gym. It represented a collision between reality and perception. Whether she had simply ended a session early for precautionary reasons or for something more serious, the lack of immediate clarity allowed the storyline to stretch in every possible direction. In a sport where narratives often shift faster than the scoreboard, this was fertile ground for speculation. But here's the central truth for now. There is no verified emergency, no proven relapse, no confirmed hospital admission linked to an injury flare-up. What exists is a pause, a visible interruption in a much larger process that has already tested her patience. That interruption, caught in the brief lens of public attention, became a headline of its own. And that headline, whether accurate or not, is now part of the season's unfolding drama. As the chapter closes, one thing remains certain. Caitlin Clark continues to recover, and the balance between transparency and privacy will remain delicate. For fans desperate to see her on the floor again, every update matters. For those telling her story, the challenge is to keep it anchored in fact while acknowledging the magnetic pull of the unknown. In this space between certainty and speculation, her next move, on or off the court, will be watched more closely than ever. The days following that interrupted practice session have been defined by a different kind of intensity, one that plays out far from the roar of an arena. Caitlin Clark's world, once dominated by the rush of fast breaks and the precision of three-point shooting, is now centered on the careful, methodical work of rehabilitation. Every morning begins with the same quiet commitment: stretching routines, targeted exercises, and long, deliberate movements meant to rebuild strength where it has been lost. Her injury, a strain to the right groin sustained in mid-July, is not the kind that invites shortcuts. It is a lingering reminder of the demands professional basketball places on the human body, especially for an athlete adjusting to the speed and physicality of the WNBA. Earlier in the season, she had already endured separate muscle issues, one in her left groin, another in her left quadriceps. Together, they form a pattern of strain that cannot be ignored, and that pattern shapes every decision she and the team make about her return. Inside the Fever's training facility, the atmosphere around her is both supportive and cautious. Coaches, trainers, and medical staff speak in terms of progress, not deadlines. They monitor her closely, adjusting her workload based on how she feels, how she moves, and how her body responds the next day. In the world of elite sports, there is always the temptation to rush back, to answer the calls of impatient fans or to satisfy personal pride. Clark has felt that pull before, but this recovery demands patience, and she knows it. There are days when she appears energized, hitting her marks in conditioning drills, her footwork crisp and balanced. Then there are mornings when fatigue or discomfort forces a lighter workload, reminding everyone involved that recovery is not a straight line. Her own competitive instincts make those days harder. Sitting out while teammates practice or compete can feel like watching a train speed away without her. Each game another reminder of the moments she is missing. Yet she remains present, offering encouragement from the sideline, studying game film, staying connected to the pulse of the team even as she works her way back. In the broader context of her young career, this period is significant. She entered the league with unprecedented attention, carrying the weight of expectations that most rookies never face. Every performance, every statistic, every appearance became part of a national conversation about her potential to redefine the sport's visibility. That same spotlight now shines on her absence. A rookie season is supposed to be about building momentum. For Clark, it has also become an early test of endurance, both physical and mental. Her public appearances during this time have been carefully chosen. She showed up during All-Star Weekend in Indianapolis, a presence that reassured supporters even though she was in street clothes. She posed for photos, signed autographs, laughed with fans. The smile was genuine, but those closest to her know how deeply she wants to trade handshakes for high fives after a made shot, to swap appearances for actual playing time. Still, those interactions matter. They maintain the bond between player and audience, and they keep her in the public eye in a positive way. Behind the scenes, the Fever's approach to her situation is methodical. The team's medical staff is determined to protect her long-term health, resisting the temptation to gamble on short-term gains. That stance is not without its critics. Some argue that the team should push harder, that she should be back on the court already. Others see wisdom in restraint, recognizing that one rushed return could turn a manageable injury into something career-altering. Clark herself has aligned with the cautious approach, though not without moments of frustration. This balance between urgency and prudence defines her current reality. She is not sidelined because of a lack of will. She is sidelined because the game she loves demands that her body be at full capacity before she can play it at the level she expects from herself. For now, her victories come in increments. A pain-free stretch, a sharper cut during a drill, an extra repetition in the weight room. These are not the highlights that fill social media feeds, but they are the building blocks of her return. As the weeks pass, the narrative surrounding Caitlin Clark has shifted from the question of if she will return to the more pressing matter of when and how. Those questions hang over the season like a low, steady drumbeat, heard by teammates, coaches, fans, and Clark herself. Every answer will come in its own time, and until then, she will keep working, patiently, relentlessly, toward the moment when she can step back onto the court and let her game, rather than her absence, define the conversation. While the hardwood remains out of reach, Caitlin Clark's connection to the sport, and to those who follow it, has found new life beyond the game clock. She has become a fixture at team gatherings, media events, and community outreach programs, her presence carefully woven into the Fever's public image even in absence from competition. These appearances are not just symbolic gestures. They serve as a bridge between her recovery and her role as one of the league's most recognizable figures. During the recent All-Star Weekend, The city of Indianapolis buzzed with energy, and Clark's involvement was impossible to miss. Though she could not suit up, her arrival at fan events drew crowds that rivaled those for active players. She shook hands, posed for photographs, and signed memorabilia with the same poise she displays when setting up a perfect pass. Each interaction carried an unspoken reassurance. She might be sidelined, but she was still part of the heartbeat of the WNBA. Her approach to these engagements is deliberate. She navigates a careful balance between fulfilling obligations and safeguarding her recovery. Long sessions standing on her feet are measured against the physical toll they might take. The team's medical staff keeps a watchful eye even here, reminding her that appearances, no matter how public, are still part of a broader physical workload. Yet Clark has embraced these moments, understanding their value not only to fans but also to the league's profile. In a sport where visibility matters as much as performance, her ability to remain a central figure without touching the ball is notable. Cameras seek her out on the sidelines during games, capturing images of her offering tactical advice to teammates or reacting passionately to big plays. She is both participant and observer, mentor and student, her voice audible in huddles despite her inability to contribute directly on the court. These moments also serve a personal purpose. Being present keeps her engaged with the daily rhythm of the team. Its inside jokes, its strategic adjustments, its emotional highs and lows. Isolation is a common hazard for injured athletes, and Clark refuses to let it take hold. Her competitive spirit still has an outlet in the form of encouragement, tactical insight, and visible solidarity with her teammates. She has also used her time off the court to expand her influence into community initiatives. Youth clinics, charity appearances, and local outreach projects have filled parts of her calendar, each event reinforcing the connection between the Fever and their supporters. For young fans especially, meeting Clark in person is as impactful as seeing her score 20 points in a game. In these moments, she embodies not just the promise of her own career, but also the aspirations of the next generation. Off-court visibility comes with its own pressures. Every public step she takes is scrutinized, whether by devoted fans hoping for signs of a full recovery or by critics searching for indications that she might be falling behind. Even a casual stroll into an arena can become fodder for speculation. Was she limping, walking freely, looking fatigued? Clark has learned to navigate this attention with composure, rarely offering more than she intends to reveal. There is also a quiet resilience in the way she handles these situations. When questions about her return arise, and they always do, she offers measured responses, neither overpromising nor inviting unnecessary concern. She projects confidence without bravado, a tone that signals her commitment to the process without feeding unrealistic timelines. This control of her narrative is as important as any rehabilitation milestone, ensuring that her story is told on her terms. In the absence of game footage, these appearances and interactions have become the most visible chapters of her season. They keep her in the conversation, maintain her bond with the fan base, and remind the league of her value even when she is not scoring, assisting, or defending. More importantly, they offer a glimpse into the mindset of an athlete who refuses to let inactivity define her. Caitlin Clark may be physically sidelined, but in every handshake, every sideline exchange, and every public word of encouragement, she continues to play a role. And in doing so, she ensures that when the moment finally comes for her to step back onto the court, the connection she has maintained with her audience will be as strong as the game she is preparing to play again. The absence of Caitlin Clark has created a ripple effect that reaches far beyond the Indiana Fever's locker room. On the court, her missing presence is felt in the most tangible ways. Fewer assists threading through defensive traffic, fewer scoring bursts that swing momentum in seconds, fewer moments when her vision reshapes an entire possession. The Fever, already navigating a challenging season, have been forced to adapt their style, relying on different playmakers to fill the gaps she once covered with effortless precision. But the impact extends beyond points and statistics. Clark is more than a rookie sensation. She is a central figure in the WNBA's growing narrative, a player whose popularity has drawn in audiences who might never have watched a women's professional game before. When she is sidelined, the league loses one of its most marketable on-court assets, and that loss is felt in broadcast viewership, ticket sales, and the overall buzz that fuels coverage. The cameras still find her, of course, but the drama of a star in action is always more compelling than that of a star in waiting. Commentators and analysts dissect her absence with the same intensity they once applied to her shot selection or passing angles. Panel discussions shift from highlight breakdowns to speculation about her recovery, and game previews often carry a footnote. Still no sign of Clark's return. Her name remains present, but the storyline has shifted from performance to patience, and that change subtly alters how her rookie season will be remembered. Inside the Fever organization, the adjustments have been as much psychological as tactical. Without Clark's court leadership, teammates have had to shoulder more responsibility, stepping into roles they might not have anticipated so soon. Some have flourished under the added pressure, while others have struggled to match the consistency she provided. Each game becomes a test of adaptability, a reminder that no single player, no matter how talented, can be replaced entirely. Off the court, her absence has prompted shifts in marketing strategy. Promotional campaigns built around her dynamic play have been retooled to focus on her persona, her story, and her anticipated comeback. Social media posts highlight her presence at events, her work in rehabilitation, and her support for teammates, all aimed at keeping public interest alive until her return. The strategy works to a degree, but the truth remains. The most powerful marketing tool is performance, and that part of her brand is currently on hold. Media coverage has also evolved into a delicate balancing act. There is genuine concern for her well-being, but also an insatiable appetite for updates. Journalists navigate the fine line between reporting and intruding, trying to provide clarity without overstepping into areas the team keeps private. Rumors like the one sparked by the interrupted practice gain traction precisely because concrete details are scarce. And in that void, even the smallest observation can grow into a headline. For Clark herself, this dual spotlight, on her physical absence and her enduring influence, creates a unique kind of pressure. She understands that her role as a public figure extends beyond her jersey number. Her name carries weight for the league, for sponsors, for the fans who invest not just in her game but in her journey. Yet she also knows that no amount of branding can replace the reality of competition. Until she steps back onto the court, every conversation about her will orbit around that missing piece. Still, there is another side to this moment. In the long arc of a career, absence can sometimes sharpen appreciation. When she returns, every pass, every shot, every defensive stand will carry the added drama of comeback. Crowds will rise a little louder, cameras will linger a little longer, and the anticipation that now feels like a void will transform into electricity. The Fever's offense will regain its rhythm, and the league will once again have one of its brightest stars back in action. Until then, her influence persists not in the box score, but in the way the league talks about her, in the adjustments her team makes in her absence, and in the heightened awareness that the WNBA's growth is tied to the health and visibility of its most compelling players. The game goes on, but without her on the floor, it moves differently, as if holding its breath for the moment she returns to take control once again. The story of Caitlin Clark's interrupted practice and the speculation that followed has become a reflection of the era in which sports now exist. An era where perception often races ahead of confirmation, and where the smallest visible moment can ignite a wave of theories, concerns, and debates. What began as a fleeting scene in an Indianapolis gym has grown into a subplot of her season, a test not only of her body but of the narrative surrounding her. As the weeks pass, the truth remains steady. There is no verified crisis, no hidden setback that has derailed her recovery. What there is, however, is a journey defined by discipline, restraint, and the calculated patience of an athlete determined to return without compromise. The interrupted session may have been nothing more than a cautious decision, but in the public imagination, it became a moment heavy with symbolism, a visible reminder that her return is still ahead, not yet here. This gap between expectation and reality is where much of modern sports drama unfolds. For fans, the wait is its own form of competition, between optimism and worry, between trust in the official word and the lure of speculation. For Clark, it is a balancing act between staying engaged with the public and guarding the privacy of her recovery. Each appearance she makes, each update she gives, is carefully measured to maintain that equilibrium. There is also the matter of legacy. Every season in an athlete's career adds to their story, and this one will be remembered as a year of both promise and pause. The promise came in the moments she was able to play, flashes of the vision, skill, and leadership that made her a phenomenon before she ever set foot in the WNBA. The pause has come in the form of these weeks away, a stretch of time that has tested her resolve and shown her ability to lead even without a ball in her hands. When she does return, the weight of this season will follow her. The questions that hung in the air during her absence will not disappear overnight, but her ability to answer them will no longer be hypothetical. The careful preparation, the slow rebuilding, the emotional endurance. It will all be put to the test in real time, under the same spotlight that has tracked her every move. And if she succeeds, the narrative will shift once again, transforming from concern to celebration. For the Indiana Fever, her comeback will bring more than just talent back to the lineup. It will restore a sense of momentum that has been hard to maintain without her. The team's offensive flow will have its centerpiece again. The fans will have their star in uniform, and the league will regain one of its most compelling attractions. The storylines that have followed her from the sidelines will merge back into the broader arc of competition. Yet even when that day comes, the memory of this stretch will linger as a reminder of how fragile and unpredictable a season can be. It will also stand as proof that her influence reaches far beyond the stat sheet. Through rumors, through scrutiny, through weeks of uncertainty, Caitlin Clark has remained visible, engaged, and committed. She has shown that leadership is not limited to the scoreboard, and that presence can be just as powerful as performance. In the end, the interrupted practice was not the defining moment, it was the spark. The real story has been written in the days and nights that followed, in the quiet determination to recover the right way, and in the patience to wait for the right moment to return. When that moment arrives, it will carry the weight of everything she has endured in its buildup. And when she takes her first step back onto the court, it will not simply be a return to play. It will be the closing of one chapter and the unmistakable beginning of another.